Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I'm, a little disturbed by the continued drumbeat that says those who support this legislation, who support the resolution, who support bills that were passed just recently, that those of us who support that are somehow against clean water for children, are against clean air, don't care about communities, as if my citizens did not live in the community, Mr. President. They live here too. I have communities too, some that have higher lead levels in their water than Flint itself at this point. I care about those things. I care about the people of my district and the continued direct implication that anyone who takes time to consider the facts of this situation and not trust the infinite wisdom of someone else who was also elected just as I was is repugnant. Let's give each other some grace. Let's give each other some latitude to understand perspectives. The perspectives that bring me here of people who stood up at my meetings, people who showed up to my town halls and said, this department is out of control. This department is not letting me plow a field that has been plowed for 100 years. A department that has gone after citizens in the Upper Peninsula to say, because this is your second home, we're going to fine you $6,000. No rhyme or reason to that, except that they specifically said, since it's their second home, they must be able to afford that big of a fine. Citizens that are trying to log their property, and there's an existing road there, and the department says, oh, well, in the photographs, when the trees are there, before you logged it, we can't see that road, so therefore that road didn't exist, therefore you must take that road out, and pay a fine, and pay to remediate. That's wrong. That is wrong for the people of Michigan. That is abusing the people of Michigan. And it is wrong for us to consider that simply because some people interpret the infinite wisdom as being the only person who cares about people in this state, that we would go on and on to imply that the rest of us want children to drink dirty water and want people sterilized. That's absolutely ridiculous and repugnant to good common decency. Let's show some charity to each other. The truth of the matter is, who is watching the watcher? Who is watching the watcher? Within this executive order, numerous times, there are statements that say a certain panel is created, and that panel will receive complaints, will initiate investigations on those complaints. Complaints against who? Well, complaints against another citizen or a business. That's great. You know what's funny about that? The department already does that, Mr. President. They already do that. Who's taking the complaints about the department that abuses the people? Who's watching the watcher? And that's why the legislature, under its constitutional primary obligation, Article 5, Section 52, the legislature shall provide for the protection of the air, water, and other natural resources of the state from pollution, impairment, and destruction. It's our job. And that's why the legislature worked so hard to maintain a department that does that duty while also providing access for its citizens to say, you know what, the guy who's watching me, who came out and harassed me for knocking over a couple of cattails and told me my snowmobile shed could only be for one and couldn't be for two. Who's watching that guy? Who's initiating an investigation on that guy? 99% of the permits applied for, they're so proud to tout, get approved. And yet within that 99%, how many permits just, we don't count the ones that are just retracted. So 1% are denied. How about all the little guys who asked for a permit to do something and they retracted that permit in the face of certain defeat? We have evidence even of specific times when departments purposefully and preordained the failure of a permit. Members, I suggest you support this HCR. Let's get to the table. Let's find